How do I bid my jobs? Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm headed to finish a project that I started last week. For those of you who may not know, my name's Austin Ross. I've been a welder for 14 years. Here on this channel I share tips and tricks for rig welders. If those are videos that you're interested in, make sure and subscribe and ring that bell to get notified when I post a new video every Friday. So this project, this guy already set, what did I say, 19 I think? 19 2 3/8 posts, about 8 foot tall. And he wanted me to come in and cut them off and put caps on, and then build 3 4-foot gates by 8 foot tall. And he's gonna put, you know, privacy fence. He's gonna put everything else in between the post and on the gate. So all I gotta do is build. I've got all the posts capped. Now all I've gotta do is build the 3 gates. And I forgot to get measurements the other day, so I come back, pull some measurements. I know roughly what they are, but just so I know for sure what to build them at. And then I got to go get some material and then build the gates. I'm probably going to build them out of 1.5" square tubing. I can't decide if I want to go 11 gauge or 14 gauge. I like the idea of 11 gauge just because it's thicker, but depending on what he's using to put the wood onto the door or onto the gate, you know, a self-tapping screw just take a little bit longer to get through 11 gauge, but I really like that little bit heavier gauge. But anyway, that's what I'm doing today. Let's go get some measurements. Looks like he's already got them painted, but this is it. 8 or 9 posts over here, 8 or 10 over there on the other side of the yard. And this is where he wants 2 4-foot gates that he can open and pull a lawnmower through, and then a walk-through gate on the other side of the house. Alright, got my measurements. So I don't know if you could see, but whenever I pull my measurements, I pull my tape to the edge of the pipe, and of course holding it with the magnet over yonder. Well, that magnet, I can't remember what brand it is, but I know it's linked in the rig tour video. If I remember, I will link it in this video if you're interested in that magnet. It's a pretty good magnet, but I mean, literally any magnet. I mean, you want a strong one, but any magnet is good. But anyway, magnet to hold this side. I think they even make tapes with magnets nowadays, but anyway. And then I just account for this right here, which is 3 inches. That way I get, so whatever my measurement is right here, I just add 3 inches. And I like that because I get a hard measurement, but then I'll actually sit down and figure how much I want to, you know, how much gap I want to have, because you don't want it to be tight. You know, you got to allow for your hinges and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's how I took my measurements, and a little trick, if you will, or whatever, to get a hard measurement whenever you are measuring stuff. Like for fence, where you need a rail to be exactly, you know, the length, I always add this right here. So anyway, got my measurements. Now gotta go get some material. Alright, got her all strapped down here at Stillwater Steel. I used to work here, by the way, if you haven't seen that video where I kind of took you inside there. The whole video wasn't about that, but I did take you inside there and show you where I spent 3 of my years right after high school. So we'll link that video in the description. But anyway, got all my material, got my latch figured out. I tend to be here a while because I get along with Kyle. I worked with him for 3 years, and now he works in the office doing like drawings and stuff. But anyway, so I always catch up with him while I'm here, but I also kind of picked his brain about latch ideas for these gates, and we come up with Well, I'm just gonna do the whole swing, just like chain link, but I'm gonna make it out of flat. So anyway, material like this I used to haul on my 95. I don't know, I think it's in a couple of thumbnails on my YouTube channel here. But anyway, the bed that used to be on my 95 had a headache crack behind the welding machine, or no, I had one in front of the welding machine and one behind the welding machine. And if I ever needed material like this, I could just pick up 4 sticks of square tubing and slide them on there and strap them down. Super handy, didn't have to pull a trailer. Still put a flag on the back because obviously it's longer than my truck, but that was handy. And now I've got to pull a trailer. Not a big deal, but I do plan on building something for this truck to where I can haul little material like this for little jobs versus dragging a trailer, because I had to go to town and everything and drag this trailer all the way around, which this trailer's a 20 foot trailer, bumper pull, so it's not bad, it's not bad to pull around. But I did like that about my 95 bed. So anyway, now we're headed to the shop to build these gates. Alright, before I unload this material, I wanted to answer a question or talk about a question I get a lot, which is, how do I bid my jobs? So if you haven't seen the video of how to charge for a rig welder, like how to charge for your truck and welder, or how much to charge per hour is what that video is specifically about, you can go check that out. We'll link it in the description or put it in one of these corners. But the 3 variables that I mentioned in that video was your location, the demand for what you're doing, what you're specializing in, and your experience of whatever you're specializing in. Those 3 things are the 3 things that I've come up with that I noticed are the biggest variables. But like, as far as bidding a job, that's your hourly rate. That's how you decide what to charge for your hourly rate. So just like in that video, those 3 things apply to bidding work also. But bidding work also depends on your business model. What I mean by that is, and the reason I don't like touch on it a lot or talk about it a lot in videos, is because for one, I'm still learning, and for 2, it depends on your business model. If you're just working by yourself, that's a whole different way to bid stuff. If you've got 1 employee, that changes the game. If you got 2 employees, that changes the game. The more employees you got, the more whatever you're subcontracting out, all that goes into play, because there's a lot of overhead. I mean, you got to cover your overhead with any type of service-based business, any business at all. I mean, if you got any type of overhead, you got to be making enough money to cover your overhead, plus pay yourself if you want to make any money owning your own business, right? So it depends on your business model. But we'll use this project for an example, just to kind of give you an idea of what I do by myself, no employees. This job, I got the phone call. The guy said, hey, I need you to come cap some post and build me 4 gates. And I said, all right. I obviously went and looked at it. I do try to get as much information as I can over the phone. That way you just save yourself that much more time. But if it's something that's close by, or like a, they don't give you much detail, or you feel like you need to go look at it, especially if it's something they've already started. Like this guy already had the post set on this job particularly. So I just want to go check it out, see what I'm getting into. Because if it's something that I'm starting from scratch, and I got a picture of like the terrain as far as fence goes or whatever, then I can sometimes do it. I do recommend going to look at it, but nowadays with technology, FaceTime pictures, there's ways to get as much information as you can. But so I went and looked at it, got every little detail, how tall the posts were, just got every, anything I needed as far as visually what I was going to be doing. And what I do is I sit down looking at my pictures or looking at the job, and I literally sit down and figure how long it will take me to do each process. Going to get material, how long it'll take me to cut these, put the string line up, to get the marks on all these posts, to cut the post, to cap the post, my access into the backyard, for example. For this one, it's in a neighborhood. All that is something to consider when thinking about a job. I literally account for everything. I think about how long it'll take me to do. I do advise, if that's where that experience comes in, if like it's something that you haven't had much experience with, ask a buddy, you know, a fellow welder or somebody with more experience, and say, how long do you think it'll take you? Or even if they haven't had much time, just ask them, how long do you think it'll take you to do, you know, part of the job that you're like wondering about. That way you get an idea, you know, you get a second opinion, if you will. So that's what I do. I sit down and literally think about how long something will take me. So if I think this job is going to take me 5 hours total, I write, you know, hour to get material, hour to build a gate, or hour to build 3 gates. It's just an example. It's not what I did on this one, but 2 hours to build 3 gates, half a day, so 5 hours to install it, whatever it is. I come up with, say, 10 hours. If I think it'll take me 10 hours to do this job, I either punch in my, since it's just me, no help, I punch in my hourly rate. If my rate's $100 an hour, I punch in 10 hours times 10, that's $1,000. If it's, you know, since it's in a neighborhood, or it's, you know, I'm gonna have to get up on a ladder to do all these, I'm gonna cushion it a little bit, you know. Say I charge $100 an hour, I might, on my bid, I might do 110 to pad it, or I just do it at 100, and then add 2 or 3 hours on top of that. That's kind of literally just a basic way to bid a job. Just literally sit down and think about how long something's going to take you. And like I said in the how much to charge per hour video, that experience will help you in the future. Take note of every job that you do, how long it takes you, and then you can start getting your prices. You know, if you can get something done faster, then you can adjust your prices accordingly, or just charge that same amount depending on what it is. And then you're just making more money because you've got more experience and you're faster. So you're essentially making more money, right? So that's the basic way how I kind of bid my jobs as far as a small project. I've heard of people adding up the material. I didn't have to get the material in this job, but like if they want you to get the material, a lot of people add up, say this material's $200 worth, they say times that by 2, and then add 20%. I've heard people say times it by 3, 3.5, but it's all because they're from different areas, or they've, whatever they're doing, if they've done a bunch of it, they can, it's kind of, that's the neat thing about niching, is the more you do, the more you can narrow in on and get more systems and get faster at things. So I've heard those types of things, but this is not the Bible. This is just my opinion, what I've learned. I'm still constantly learning, but I wanted to share that with those of you that have been asking about how I bid for jobs. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll do what I can to answer them. Yeah, let's get started building these gates. Right, got all my perimeter pieces cut. Here's a little drawing I threw together here. So this was my, see if we can get in here where y'all can see it now. So this was my gap, a little bit less. The posts were a little unlevel, but so I wrote down 93.5, and the hinges that I was going to use are out of this pipe and this 3/4, and then plus a 1-inch wide strap. So 2.5 inches for a strap, for my hinge, 2.5 inches for my hinge times 2, which is 5, minus 1 inch for the middle gap in between the two gates. And so that's how I come up with my 87, and then divide that by 2. That's how I come up with my 2 43-inch gates. So anyway, I got a little drawing here, but I'm putting 2 more members in here in each gate. And then that'll be it. He's going to put privacy wood on it. But I'm going to wait to cut my cross members until I get these framed up. That way I can get an accurate measurement. That way I don't have no gaps or nothing. So I just like to do that. Don't always, you wouldn't have to, because I mean it's real simple, 1.5 inches. So I mean you minus 3 inches is what it's essentially going to be. And I'd probably take off about a 1/16 roughly. So it ought to, if I'd done that, it ought to fit pretty good. But it just kind of changes the pace too, because I've been cutting this for 30 minutes. What it's taking me to cut 6, 8, 10, 12 pieces, 45s on each end. So it took me about 30 minutes to do that. I'm going to go ahead and start framing up these gates. That way just kind of get started here, and then cut my cross members out of this one last piece I got. Got all my hinges welded on this one. Still got to put hinges on those two, but I wanted to get started, or I wanted to work on this latch first to get all the kinks worked out, if you will, on this latch before I set them other two up here and work on them. My advice for this week is when it comes to bidding jobs, whenever you're working for yourself, if you're just starting out, don't be afraid to ask questions to your peers, with those with more experience, with those that are looking to do the same thing you're doing. Get other opinions, get second opinions, ask advice, just ask questions. Be humble enough to do such a thing. If you haven't heard about my Inner Circle, it is a group that we have created where you can actually discuss this type of thing with those that are in the industry, you know, mobile rig welding, shop welding, all of it. There's people in this Inner Circle that are doing the same thing that you're interested in doing, and it's a great place to have what I consider like a mastermind, you know, people to bounce ideas off of and whatnot and get advice from. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can check that out on my website, arosswelding.com, under the community tab or education tab. I think it's under both, but we'll put a link in the description if you're interested in the Inner Circle at all. Thank you all for watching, and remember, learn something every day. Oh, brain fart. Brain fart.